1. A little information for you. I live in the deep south and work for a very popular local seafood restaurant in my area. People come from all over the country to try our seafood, and we are often very busy, especially during crawfish season and Lent. The owners are very nice people and will do almost anything they can to make the customers happy. That is fine. However, people often take advantage of this, and often are incredibly rude. Trust me, between myself and my co-workers, we have seen it all. The place where I work employs a lot of high school and college students, and in order to help us maintain a working life and keep up with school, we close fairly early during the weeknights, 7 o'clock Monday to Thursday, and 5 o'clock on Sunday. But when I say close, I mean we stop taking orders. So someone could come in at 6:59 on a Monday night and stay until 11. They just wouldn't be able to order anything. Yes, this actually happened. The most annoying part of all of this is that most of our site work can't be started until everybody leaves. So this happened a couple of months ago, probably around October. This particular story isn't anything too bad, but it just goes to show how entitled some of the people we deal with are. It was a Thursday night, and during the late summer and fall, we usually aren't terribly busy. We had started cleaning up and getting ready to leave about 15 minutes before closing, and everyone was pretty much ready to leave. We had a couple of tables, but they were finishing up, and I thought I was going to get home early. But of course, that's not what happened. About 5 minutes before we close, a big group of about 6 or 7 people come in. Our policy is if you are in the restaurant before 7, you can order. And of course, these people took their precious time deciding what they want. They finally ordered at 7:05, and to make matters worse, they ordered 3 orders of snow crab, which is very messy and easily takes longer to get ready than anything else. In addition, it meant our boiler had to stay an extra 15 to 20 minutes waiting for the orders to be ready. So not only was the wait and kitchen staff aggravated, but so was the boiler. But their food comes up and they take their time eating, even though it is obvious we were closed and ready to go. We had stacked the chairs up on the other side of the restaurant, which we only do if people seem not to be aware that we are closed or they just don't care. The lights in the seafood market were off, and just about all of my co-workers were sitting in the waiting area on their phones. Finally, about 30 minutes after we closed, one of the women from the table gets up and starts heading towards the counter. I was relieved, as I think she just needs a to-go box, but of course I was wrong. "Hi, do y'all need some to-go boxes?" "Actually, I want to place an order to go." This happens fairly often, and usually people are understanding, so like I usually do, I told her our kitchen had closed 30 minutes ago and that I was sorry. "I just want some chicken, it's for my daughter." "I'm sorry, but we shut down our kitchen half an hour ago. Everything is turned off." "Well, can't you just turn it back on?" "I don't think they can do that, ma'am." "Are you kidding me? All I want is some chicken, and it's not even for me, it's for my daughter. Is there any way you can do it for me?" "Everything is already put up or shut down." "Please, pretty please." She began to beg like a 5-year-old girl, asking her parents to buy her a chocolate bar. And it was almost embarrassing. I'm not even kidding. Everything in me wanted to be like, yes, let me have the cook turn everything back on again, dirty up all the dishes we just cleaned, and stay an extra 10 to 15 minutes longer because you came in 5 minutes before we closed and just now decided you want chicken. I'm sorry, there isn't anything I can do.
Can you go back and ask if they can do it?
Ma'am, I promise you they're already closed.
Can you please just go check?
I was pretty aggravated at this point, and I was trying to do my side work, and she had wasted a good 5 minutes of my time. But her insisting I go ask the kitchen to confirm what I already knew only made me angrier. Our kitchen manager works full days on Thursday, and she was still there making sure everything was being done correctly. So I went up to her and explained everything that was happening.
What's wrong with you?
This lady won't believe me about some chicken tenders, and I've been telling her we are closed. Please just tell me you can't so she will leave me alone.
Well, let me see if we still have the batter.
Cam, please. Before she could say any more, one of the cooks confirmed that, shocker, everything was turned off, and the batter was thrown away already. So I went to tell her this, but RL still didn't seem to get it. Ma'am, they said everything is off and shut down for the night.
Okay, so what am I supposed to tell my daughter?
I don't know, but we can't make it.
This is ridiculous. Y'all didn't even tell me the kitchen was closing.
First of all, this isn't even our responsibility. And secondly, we told her and her entire party that this was going to be the last order, and the kitchen was going to be shutting down after that. I had been up since 5:30 that morning, and had come to work directly after school, so naturally I was pretty grumpy. I was getting sick of this lady, but thankfully my supervisor walked back to the counter. Supervisor, can you please help this lady?
She said you can't make me chicken in a basket. I have the money for it right here.
Ma'am, our chicken closed over half an hour ago. We can't do that.
This is ridiculous. I guess my daughter just won't eat tonight.
And she stormed back to her table. My supervisor looked at me and I explained what had happened. If she needs chicken that badly, she should just go to McDonald's. There's literally one a mile either way down the road. I don't know, but I'm done with people. The group ended up not leaving until 8 o'clock, but I had gotten all my work done and was able to leave after we stacked all the chairs. I just wonder if she ever went and got chicken. 2. So this happened today, actually. I work at an Applebee's, and as you know, we have late-night half-apps that usually draw in herds of high schoolers and college students. Today was a slow day, and I had just gotten a table of 2, soon to be 4. While waiting for the rest of their party, 2 more people walk in and wait 0.5 seconds before seating themselves in the closed area of my section. I walk over, kindly ask them to move to the open area, which they agree, and this dude is so high he's somewhere around Jupiter right now. So when I seat them, I ask for their drinks as per normal. Girl asks for hot chocolate. Guy asks for watermelon margarita, which we don't have, and rather than look at the listed flavors on the drink menu, just asks what we have, which is understandable. I'm used to it. But my mind is not at full capacity after recovering from a cold. I get their drinks, the rest of the party of 4 shows up at my table, and I get them their waters with lemon, which will always annoy me, still have no idea why. Here's the kicker. I bring High Table their drinks and ask what they'd want. As it turns out, they didn't want half-apps, they wanted a read from the regular menu, which they never got because they sat themselves, and never brought it to my attention. I grab those and silverware to save me another request later, and let them do their thing. I turn around to Party Table. Nobody knows what they want. Understandable. I'll give them a few minutes. I come back, check on Party Table first, since I believe they'll be quick. Still no decision. I'll check back later. High Table wants a 2 for $20, no surprise there, but they think that the sides are locked into mashed potatoes and broccoli, as shown in the picture. No, that's just an example. I explain that they can choose any 2 sides and direct them to the page. Guy only orders 1 and closes the menu. So I ask him if he would like a second one and exclaims in surprise that he didn't know you got 2. Girl was completely clueless as to where the sides were, even though I flipped to them right in front of her face. They finally get everything in, after some much-needed explanation as to how a menu works. I write it down and turn to Party Table. The same guy has been staring at the half-apps menu since my second check back, and didn't even pass it on to anyone else, so the rest were still clueless. I'll come back in another few minutes. This is my 4th time checking back, and as it turns out, the guy hogging the menu can't have any of it. So it was basically a major waste of time there, and the girl he showed up with didn't want anything either, so alright then. The other 2 finally order something, but the first guy decides to point to the menu, hold it up and say, "This thing here at the bottom." Dude, it has a name in bold that everyone knows and isn't complicated at all. Classic Combo Sampler. At least the girl made it easy with mozzarella sticks. By the time I got to my point of sale system, I just hit my head against it and stayed there for a solid 30 seconds, wondering what in the world just happened. The rest of the night wasn't as bad. I ran out the food. Dude for some reason didn't recognize his loaded baked potato, which he showed excitement towards when ordering it, and set it to the side only to ask for a box later. Still unsure in what happened there. High Table paid and left first, leaving about a 30% tip, which I appreciated. Party Table decided to pay, and then stayed damn near till closing. They only decided to leave when I began flipping tables over in order to clean under them. For the final touch, the moment they left, I collected the checkbooks to get my signed receipts, when I see someone left their card. Now, you might be thinking this is normal, but hear me out. They left their card when I had placed it in front of the receipts, so you would need to move it in order to sign. Not to mention, the card was designed with a brightly colored butterfly and a purple flower. How in the world do you miss that? Luckily, I caught up to them in the parking lot, returned the card, did my closing work, and finally went home to type this right here. Thank you for listening. 3. In July 2019, I started serving at the restaurant I've been a greeter at for the past 4 years. I've seen drama go down in the back, but never have I really been involved in it until this past Thursday. I've debated sharing this experience, but now that I look back on it, it's fucking great. I was a greeter that night. I do this occasionally if they really need someone. A party of 10 comes in for a birthday party, and they have a cake the size of a small rectangle table. I asked them where they got it, and they told me. After that, we got the manager to put it in our cooler until they were ready to cut it. Pretty normal so far. The closing manager made a joke about how everyone needs to watch me because I might steal a piece. This manager makes jokes all the time. He's a great guy, so this wasn't the problem. It was one of the servers taking care of the party. After they had eaten almost all of the cake, I went to clean the table next to them, and they asked if I wanted the last piece. I made sure they were okay with giving it to me, and they said yes, so I got to take a pretty big-sized piece of cake home with me. I'm packing it up, and one of the servers came up to me, scoffed, and said, "Ugh, the greeter getting a piece of their cake, but not the servers that took care of them. That's ridiculous." I even offered to cut it in half for her to be nice, but she just walked away. So then I went home. A little tense, but that's all. Fast forward to Saturday, and I'm at my serving shift. My GM approaches me and asks if I wouldn't leave a party alone for their cake. Of course I say no because, well, yeah, that's not what happened. "That's what I thought," she tells me before walking away. At this point, I'm almost in tears because I'm so angry. Why would the party call and report me about something that isn't true? Later that day, I found out the server who was all pissy about me getting cake was the one to report me. The guest didn't even call or say anything to anybody. The Thursday closing manager was there on Saturday, so he told me what happened when I left. The server kept on raving about how I was harassing those guests and that I'm selfish and things like that. She then reported me to our GM. Just her. The other server didn't say anything. In the words of that manager, "She's just jealous because you were offered a piece and she wasn't." We worked together a few days ago after this incident blew over. She was nicer to me than normal, probably because she knew she was in the wrong. I still work there, for now, but at least I can trust my management team to believe me when someone accuses me of something outside of my character. I'm eating that piece of cake with pride. 4. This was at a temporary job at a coffee shop where we sold coffee, as well as ice cream and some snacks. Apart from regular coffee, we also served coffee with a scoop of ice cream. All good, except the ice cream flavors were a bit out there. Carrot cake, panna cotta, blueberry muffin, and so on. Unconventional, but still tasty. Then there were the really bad ones, such as honey rosemary sour cream, which might go with roast potatoes, but the flavor does not translate well into ice cream. And the hero, or villain, of this story, Black Friday. The feeling retail workers get on that day, that's pretty much how it tasted. Supposedly, it was coconut and licorice flavored. The closest I can come to describing the flavor is a coconut having a nightmare, falling down a chimney straight to hell, just to crawl out of there and onto an ice cream cone. Anyway, it was dark and looked vaguely like another flavor we had. Dark chocolate, and a lot of curious customers had asked about it. I've been warning people away from the flavor for the whole week, letting them sample it before they ordered and so on. Nobody actually bought it after tasting it. Perhaps I shouldn't have talked about company products that way, but it was my last week and I was honestly done. They had cut hours to save money, but still expected me to spend 3 hours a day commuting, and their stinginess with equipment actually led to injuries for long-term workers. Selling less ice cream was the least of what they deserved. Cue the interaction with the unfortunate customer. He walks in, suit and briefcase. I frequently got moved between different locations. And this particular shop was prone to customers who would treat us in the "what do you know, you're only a barista" way. Never mind that they knew less about coffee than most 10-year-olds. Yes, coffee does get cold when you let it stand for 10 minutes. That's not my fault. Not the point here, though. This man already looked the type, but regardless, you greet customers with a smile. "Hello, what would you like today?" "I'll take a cappuccino with a scoop of the dark chocolate ice cream." We didn't have dark chocolate, only Black Friday. "Sir, that isn't Black Friday, then. Who cares about the names?" "Are you sure? It doesn't taste like chocolate, so..." "Yes, just put it in." "I think I'll try one last time." "Are you sure you don't want to taste it first? This flavor doesn't really taste all that great." "I'm sure." "Okay then. His money's wasting, not mine." I make the coffee and drop in an extra large scoop of Black Friday. I do, after all, want to make sure he gets his money's worth. Besides, there's still tons of ice cream left, and we have to chuck it out at the end of the week. "Here you go, have a lovely day." He takes his coffee, he grumbles, and walks out. Now, fortunately, our shop has glass doors, or I wouldn't have seen his priceless expression as he took his first sip. I finished working there 2 days later, but his face will remain a fond memory. Generally, there is a reason someone warns you away from something. 5. Last Saturday I was on duty for a 12-hour lunch to close shift. At around 8 p.m., a lone older man comes in to eat. Rather than sit himself down at the table I indicate to him is free, he goes to the bar instead. This in itself wasn't an immediate red flag, but something just seemed off about him. He was wearing real scraggy clothes and a worn hat. It's not out of the ordinary, and like hell I'm going to make an issue based on just his clothing. I remember after eating his starters and removing his plate, I asked him how his food was, and he replied something along the lines of, "I'm just praying." He cast not so much a glare but a blank stare at me after this, and I put the random response down to perhaps the customer having some sort of mental problem. Not a problem, of course, it just caught me off guard a bit at the bizarre reply. I smiled at him and continued about the night. I then see 10 minutes later that he's ordered our most expensive dish on the menu. This again isn't out of the ordinary, but in hindsight this should have immediately been another red flag. Because 5 minutes after his main food arrived, he's standing up, putting his coat on and leaving. He doesn't appear to be in any rush, and since he's barely touched his food, I assume he's gone out for a cigarette. Wrong. Instead, I trusted my gut feeling this time and checked the tables on the register. His bill is still active and not paid for. Cue me heading out and coaxing him back inside. It is when doing this that I realize the guy is totally fucking shit-faced. He's wobbling around and barely able to stand, so I sit him back at the bar where his food is and politely inform him that his bill has not been paid for. Cue him insisting he paid with another employee. There's me, the bartender, another waitress, and 2 runners, both of whom don't take payments. So that leaves me, bartender or waitress, as the person he paid with. Nobody else is on duty right now. I ask him politely who between the bartender and waitress he paid with, and he goes silent. He then demands that I prove he didn't pay. This is proven after printing his valid bill. Our system is set up so when you pay for a bill, you cannot print it off again without manager approval. Of course, he doesn't believe me, and starts swearing at both me and the bartender. Sensing this whole situation is going to go south, I decide the best course is to call the police. Just to add to this, as the back and forthing continued with this guy, he demanded a police presence. So when the cops arrive, I give him one last chance to settle the bill and be on his way. He, of course, instead wants to talk with the police. Bearing in mind throughout all of this, I've been with this guy for almost 30 minutes. Tables that have been sat down during this time have been looking at me expectantly. To them, they probably think I'm just standing around doing nothing. The police talk to him and basically give him an option of either going to jail that night for petty theft or pay the bill and leave. He chooses the latter. Seriously, what is wrong with these types of people? Do they honestly believe that the police will automatically side with them because they said so? Fucking hell. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates, number 83. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Okay, and before I forget, I like to do these at the start instead of the end. In case I do forget, then I don't have to slap myself in the wrist. I have a little shout out to do to Charasonic, or Carasonic. Let's go with Charasonic. The author of story number 1, that was the Applebee story. Thank you very much, Charasonic, for letting me use your story. Where are we now? Oh, yeah. Slight hell freezer grumble. If you've ever worked in a place that serves the public, be it a restaurant or retail, like I worked in retail, if a member of staff tells you they don't have something in stock, trust the person who works there and knows exactly what's in the stockroom, or the kitchen in this case. Because if they don't offer to go check, like maybe they've just got a delivery in or something like that, then they might go check, because in that case they won't know what came in that day, so they might be willing to check then. But if they just flat out tell you, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have that, trust them. Because if you insist they go and check, this is what's going to happen. Firstly, they will inwardly roll their eyes at you. Secondly, they're going to go through it as the stockroom, or the kitchen in this case. They're just going to stand there for about 30 seconds, long enough to make it seem like they've actually done something. Then they'll walk back out having not actually looked, because they don't need to. They've already told you it's not there. And they will then tell you that no, in fact, they don't have it. Which they already told you. All you really succeed in doing is wasting their time and your time and whoever happens to be in the queue waiting behind you. Okay, that's enough grumbling from me, I think. And with that, I'm gonna head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.